Are you and your organization actually prepared for an economic downturn? Well, we're going to look at a fascinating new study out of Ireland that honestly acts as a perfect high-stakes mirror for the entire global economy. If you're sitting there thinking you're completely ready for the next financial shock, well, the data we're about to impact might just completely change your mind. So, is your job truly recession-proof? We're starting with this question because recent research shows that, quite frankly, most of us, individuals and entire organizations alike, are shockingly complacent about economic shocks. We kind of just assume that because things are good right now, they're going to stay good forever. But as we're going to see, relying on that assumption, it's incredibly dangerous. To get to the bottom of this, we're pulling from a study of 9 veteran Irish business professionals. Now, what makes their insights so golden is that they share a massive, combined 269 years of experience. We're talking executives, managers, and entrepreneurs who have navigated multiple booms and busts, including the 2008 crash and the pandemic. Basically, they know exactly what goes down when the money stops flowing. Which brings us to our first section, the Celtic vulnerability, looking at Ireland's economic exposure. When you look at Ireland's economic setup, it is a brilliant case study of how global interconnectedness can actually become a massive vulnerability. Here's the core issue. Ireland is heavily, almost dangerously reliant on U.S. tech and pharma multinationals. A huge chunk of their tax revenue comes straight from these foreign corporations. On the flip side, what they desperately need is to build diversified, homegrown industries. Because without that balance, a single ripple over in the US can cause an absolute tidal wave in Ireland. And this quote right here captures that anxiety perfectly. The experts bluntly warn that potential tariffs or even just a shift in US tax policy could instantly wipe out a chunk of Ireland's corporate tax income. If a U.S. parent company decides to tighten its belt, the Irish branch could be looking at widespread job cuts practically overnight. The control is completely out of their hands. So are they ready for this? Well, look at this. Out of the 9 veteran experts surveyed, 8 disagree that Ireland is prepared for a recession, and 1 strongly disagrees. That is a near unanimous consensus that the country and its workforce are absolutely not ready for an impending economic shock. Moving on to Section 2, a reactive reality. Let's talk about how organizations actually respond when things go south. What's really interesting and honestly a bit terrifying is how poorly companies react when a recession stops being just a theory and becomes reality. This quote from one executive hits the nail on the head. Future planning isn't a very Irish trait. Instead of strategic foresight, the research shows that organizations tend to adopt a paralyzing wait-and-see approach. They basically close their eyes and just hope the economic storm blows over. But, when the storm doesn't blow over and the panic finally sets in, this is what happens. Companies completely bypass thoughtful preparation and jump straight to ruthless cost-cutting. As the study points out, companies become merciless in headcount reduction. It just proves that corporate loyalty often vanishes the exact second the economy contracts. Let's break down exactly what that panic looks like in practice. You'll see immediate hiring freezes, business expansion gets put on hold, and annual salary increases? Gone. But here is the absolutely crucial takeaway: cutting non-revenue-generating roles. Unless your specific role directly generates revenue or fulfills a locked-in contract, you are highly, highly vulnerable to these defensive, panic-driven tactics. Okay, Section 3, the Employee Survival Guide. Let's talk about protecting your livelihood. So how do you actually fight back against this? Well, we have to start by calling out a pretty dangerous mindset that's creeping into the modern workforce. Researchers noted a huge contrast between generations. On one hand, you've got this complacency among younger millennial and Gen Z workers, many of whom have only ever worked in a booming economy, assuming they can just walk out and easily grab another job. Contrast that with the veterans of the 2008 financial crash. They practice extreme financial caution. They live strictly within their means because they fully expect instability. The experts are super clear on this. Assuming your job is safe just because you've been there a while, or just keeping your head down to avoid extra work, that is a catastrophic mistake. As this quote warns, nothing lasts forever. You simply cannot afford to be passive when executives are actively hunting for overhead to slash. To truly recession-proof your career, you have to make yourself completely indispensable. You need to actively upskill in high-demand, tech-resilient areas and show extreme flexibility, like eagerly taking on tasks way outside your job description. And this is key.
Document your cost savings and customer wins. You want to make absolutely sure management sees your measurable financial impact. Oh, and definitely build that emergency fund. And aggressively reduce your personal debt now, before the storm actually hits.
Next up, Section 4, the Leadership Playbook, how to guide organizations through the storm. Now, for the managers and entrepreneurs tuning into this explainer, avoiding those knee-jerk, merciless layoffs requires a totally different playbook, one that's centered on proactive foresight, not panic. Leaders need to shift from reactive cuts to detailed scenario planning. This means educating your staff on recession probabilities early, prioritizing completely transparent communication to build trust, and frankly, identifying market opportunities even when things are contracting. And whatever you do, fiercely protect your top performers. When the economy eventually bounces back, losing that irreplaceable knowledge is going to seriously stunt your recovery.
And if you're running a local branch of a multinational company, which is obviously a huge deal in Ireland, these steps are your lifeline. First, scrutinize overheads and eliminate waste right now. Second, reassert your local value to the global parent company. And third, target any new hires strictly for revenue-generating projects. By methodically proving your local value to the higher-ups early on, managers can essentially shield their teams from arbitrary corporate slashing that's being decided thousands of miles away. Finally, Section 5, building lasting resilience. The path forward.
Let's zoom out for a second. We've talked about individuals and managers, but how do entire economies and industries break this panic cycle? The ultimate safeguard against global economic shocks is structural diversification. I mean, you literally cannot put all your eggs in one basket. Whether you're a small business or an entire nation, you have to diversify your revenue streams and export markets so you aren't entirely dependent on a single country or one specific sector.
And policymakers and business leaders alike need to continuously monitor macroeconomic indicators. True resilience means keeping a very close eye on things like inflation and credit conditions. You really have to anticipate cyclical slowdowns before they strike, rather than acting totally surprised when the data finally turns negative. Plus, at the core of national and organizational resilience is identifying and heavily investing in indispensable recession-proof roles. Think about it. Healthcare, public utilities, digital infrastructure, these are roles society simply cannot function without. When you anchor your economy with these foundational roles, you're essentially building a buffer against the wildest swings of the global market. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. We've seen the absolute danger of the wait-and-see approach, and we know exactly how quickly corporate loyalty can just vanish. So what's it going to be? Are you waiting to become a victim of a merciless headcount reduction, or are you building your survival playbook today? The choice is entirely yours, but as the data clearly shows, the time to prepare is already here.